Hello and welcome to our next part of our tutorial. So at the moment we have our character here. We're going to do some UI stuff in this. So we're getting shot at, but we've no health going down. So we want to add in this video here, and we'll get to that guy in the next video. I'm going to add in time and health. So we're going to add in a UI component, and over here I've got a script I've made, so we'll go have a look at that in a minute. So I'm going to go create a UI object, and I could create just text, which is all I really need, but I'm going to create a button because that button already has basically a background on it. It'll make it easier to read. So with the button, I'm just going to rename my canvas, so UI L1 UI will do fine. And we have kind of used these before in some of the other scenes that we've made, so we'll very quickly run through this. So our level is down here in the corner, and the UI is comparatively very big, and that's just it's an overlay, so we don't confuse one into the other. So I'm going to take my canvas here, and I'm going to say scale with screen size, and then my screen size over here is 1920 by 1200, so just slightly bigger than HD. And now if I look at my button's quite small, so we'll make that a bit bigger. We'll make it say 350, and we'll make it 60 high, and we'll call this we'll call this timer, and then we'll call this time text. Okay, and over here I'm going to change this just to say time, although that doesn't really matter, it's just for a placeholder. We'll be replacing that text. So I'm going to take this timer, I'm going to tell it to anchor it to the top right corner, and I'm going to move my text and place it up here, and then I'm going to turn off interactable. I don't want to be able to press buttons. And then I'm going to change the disabled color here, so we'll make it nice and blue, because the rest of the world is blue. Maybe a bit darker blue. And let's press play and see if that's legible. Yeah, it's not too bad. Now keep in mind we can put all sorts of background images in here, and we can customize this a lot. So we're just doing sort of a methodology and functionality in this tutorial. So there's my timer, so I'm going to right click on that and duplicate it, and this one I'm going to call health, and we'll call this health text, and then we will type health in here. Again, this is only like a placeholder, and then we're going to take this, I'm going to anchor this to the top left and move it across to about there. Now, I don't know if they're numerically perfect, but they'll do for now. So now we have our player, and we have a player script. So let's have a look at this script. I've called it level 1 player control. So we've got well, first of all, up here we've said using unityengine.ui, because we want to use user interface elements. So I've made a text variable. Made two of them, one called health and one called timer. So we're going to drop in Unity these text fields are going to be, or text components are going to be associated with these. We've got a health score and we've got time left. So these are both numbers. One's an integer and one is a float. And then I've said on collision. Now I could, it's kind of interesting, I've used the tag bullet, so I'll go back to Unity and just have a little chat about this. So there's my bullet there, and if I just drag it into my world, it's got the tag bullet. So I made that tag, so I can go plus, give it a new name. So we'll call this, I know, Biffy, and then I can go back to my bullet here and change the tag. So I'm going to leave it at bullet because I've referenced it in the script, and I drag it back into my prefab here, and that's it. So this has a collider on it, and it has a is trigger, and that's turned off. So by default it's just a normal collider. So these bullets, when they hit the player, they actually push them backwards. They have physics. Now as a designer, you may decide you don't want that. You don't want the bullets to push the player backwards. In that case, you would turn on is trigger, and then instead of using on collision in the script here, you would be going void on trigger enter, and then you'd have a slightly different setup, but that's up to you. So we're going to use the standard collision and leave the physics in. So we're saying if this is the object that we're colliding with, this is me or whatever the script is on, and then the object we collide with. So if the object I collide with, that game object, has the tag bullet, or it could be any of the tags, then health score minus minus, which basically means -1 from that number. So that's our health basically looked after. So when I get hit by a bullet, -1 off the health. And down here, our health text is saying, so health, which is the component, and then the text field. So text field in that component, put in this, replace it with, because we're updating this every frame, with the word health and a colon, and then plus health score, so this number. And with time, time's even easier. We have a variable called time left. We're saying time left minus equals time.delta time, which is time of the game. So just subtract time as time passes from this number, and then in a similar way with our text field, we're saying timer.text. So in this text field, replace the text with this. So the word time, and then our time left. So it's very like this one. And the only difference is I've said toString, so I've turned it into an alphanumeric value rather than it being left as a float. And then this F2 rounds it up to 2 decimal places. Otherwise we'll end up with a huge number of numbers, like a really long decimal that we don't want. So let's have a look at that. So if we click on our player here, this is the script. So it's looking for 2 text fields, and this is them here. So the timer.text is going to go in there, and then the health.text is going to go in there. Now when I press play, my timer, you can see, is running down to 2 decimal places, and then my health, as I get hit, I'm on 9, 8, 7, 6. And it's interesting because we're getting hit by 2 different bullets, and one bullet has the tag and one bullet doesn't have the tag. So it just shows you the tag working or not working. And then what we need to do is put in a consequence. So I've got help -1 there. So let's go back to our script, and under update, let's say if our health score is smaller than or equal to 0, then we want to do something, and we want to change scene. So I'm going to say, so using so Unity engine dot scene management, and then down here I can say the consequence of my score reaching 0 is I want to go scene manager dot load scene, and we'll say main menu, and we'll just jump back into Unity and see. Yeah, it's main menu, all one word with 2 capital M's. So let's press save and go back in here and press play. Oh, I think that's from earlier. Let's see if I can press play. So I get hit. So my health is 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm back to my main menu. Okay. So I'll just save this. Then one last thing we need to do is we need to do something very similar, like to this, except we're gonna say if time left. And that way we can, let's just start ourselves with less time, so when we're testing this we don't have to worry about having to hang around for too long. So time left, oh, it's still 30 over here, so we'll say 10. So now when I press play, we should only have to wait 10 seconds, so 9, 8. So when that reaches 0, we should go back to the main menu. And off we go. Very good. And there's no menu, or there's no mouse actually visible on that, so we'll need to go fix that. Okay, so that's all we'll put in this tutorial. So that's basically a countdown timer, and if you run out of time, you change level, and that should maybe bring you to a screen that says you have failed or you lose. And then we've got health. It's a numeric health system. So anytime we get hit by a bullet that would have the correct tag on it, it will -1 off our health. And then if our health goes to 0 or below 0, again we change level. Okay, so we'll leave it there for now.